Hello there, good people, and welcome to It's a Shaw Thing. I'm your host, Rob Shaw. We're talking fantasy football. What an unpredictable season it's been so far. Brady is down, Manning is struggling. What happened to LT? All these questions and a lot more. I'm going to try to answer as many as I can. We're going to talk about 6 different guys, some moving up, some moving on down. Go to the waiver wire, figure things out. You can still make it in this crazy season. And we'll start off at the running back position. There's a guy named Rudy Johnson, start for the Bengals. After 3 seasons of over 1,300 plus yards, he actually struggled last year because of hamstring injuries, had some more injuries during preseason, got cut during preseason, signed by Detroit to be a backup. Lo and behold, this guy is now a featured running back for the Lions. The Lions struggled in this past game, but this guy provided a silver lining at 14 carries for 83 yards, 3 receptions, 48 yards, including a touchdown. All those plays, and then you compare them to Kevin Smith, who only had 3 carries. It's very clear Rudy Johnson is going to have a big role on this team. So that being said, Rudy Johnson, the guy who's still available in the majority of fantasy leagues, should be scooped up immediately. As far as someone to cut your losses with, to pick that guy up, how about Ray Rice? Now, I predicted boldly during the beginning of the season, I said that there was a point that Willis McGahee would lose his starting job probably by week 8 and Rice would gain it. Now, I do think McGahee could lose that job, but it doesn't look like Rice is next in line. In fact, that guy is LaRon McClain. This is a guy who did very well this past weekend. 17 carries, 2 touchdowns, over 60 rushing yards. He looked very, very good. I think that he might be next in line. That being said, you look at what Willis McGahee did. He did pretty well himself. 15 carries, he had a touchdown. As far as Ray Rice, just 5 carries for 20-plus yards. Now, it's one thing to be in a split backfield, another to be in an overcrowded backfield. Rice is an overcrowded one where he won't get much play. So that being said, at this point, you could pick up McClain if you wish, but at this point, there's no point in keeping Rice. All right, now let's talk about the quarterback position. I'm not sure if John Gruden was trying to just flex his muscles and say, look, I could win with any quarterback, but Brian Griese threw the ball 67 times for over 400 yards for 2 touchdowns. He did throw 3 interceptions, but that's a forgivable offense when you consider the big numbers that he put up. Now, the most important thing is this. You have to figure out, is that what this offense is all about? If so, great. Antonio Bryant had 10 receptions for over 130 yards, so it looks like that's a guy who could end up being a big part of that offense. But you have to first figure out if that was just a mirage or was it a trend. We'll find out this upcoming weekend. In the meantime, keep a close eye on Brian Griese. As far as a guy to cut your losses with, Matt Castle was horrific. They got killed 38-13, the first loss in over a year for New England. Things are not looking good for that team. They're not throwing to the guys who need to have the ball. More on that in a little bit. But just look at the numbers for Castle. He's known to be a quick guy, a mobile quarterback, but he got sacked 3 times. He threw an interception, only threw for over 130 yards. That's not all that good. This is a bad situation. You don't want to invest in this. You don't want to lose to the Dolphins. On that note, I cut my ties with Matt Castle. Now, let's talk about the wide receivers. One guy you want to pick up, his value is just moving up in the world. 6 carries, 124 yards. I'm talking about Brandon Lloyd and the Chicago Bears, a team not known to move the ball in the air, but this is the best threat they've had in a while. Devin Hester is all banged up. Bernard Berrian is now playing in Minnesota. This is their featured wide receiver, and clearly Kyle Orton feels comfortable getting him the ball. They connected on a touchdown this past weekend. He had some success earlier in his career with San Francisco, got banged up in Washington. It's time to forgive and forget Brandon Lloyd, a guy who could certainly help your fantasy team out. Now, as far as someone to cut your losses with, no, I'm not going to say that about this guy, but there is some concern about Randy Moss. 2nd week in a row, he didn't break 30 yards receiving. He did get 4 different receptions, but his high, 7 yards. This is the same guy who's known for the deep route last year with Tom Brady in a record-setting year. Things are really bad. In fact, I'm not sure that they know who their starting quarterback is going to be for next week. They might go with Castle again, but if he continues to struggle, they might have to start looking at some other options. They were very bold not to jump at some of the guys like Chris Sims and others who are still available. They might learn to regret that move because right now, the Patriots do not look good. You go back a week before, even against the Jets, they got the win, but their offense did not move the ball in the air. Now they've got some injuries with their rushing attack, so there's not much of a decoy for their passing game. And Randy Moss, one of the players who is really struggling because of this. So if you have Randy Moss, maybe time to try to trade him. Obviously, don't drop him, but things are not looking good for you. Well, my friends, that's your fantasy football update for now, and It's a Shaw Thing. I'll see you tomorrow right here at opensports.com.
So you think you can tackle a pro? There's only one way to find out. Click on fantasy at opensports.com.